so much, Ritika and Amrita. First of all, a very good afternoon to you, sir. Good afternoon, sir. So, this panel is majorly focused to tell us all about how exactly is this process of risk-taking. Everybody says when you are a youth, it is important that you take risks, you explore. But if you could go back in time, and if there is something that you would feel that you would take this profession, or you would take this risk and you would do this. So what exactly would that be, sir?
Okay, if I went back in time, what would I have chosen? How would I have chosen? I think, actually my colleague Namrata gave me this question that you could ask me, so I was reflecting. I'm a very boring person, very predictable. Therefore, there are not many changes are incorporated in life. I must be truthful. And I look back, there are two things. One, as a kid, my mom asked me when I was 12 years old, I was on the threshold of 10th grade, I left school at 13 and went to plus 2 intermediate, first intermediate batch. She said, son, you can be pretty much what you want to be. I want to see a child of mine in the white coat and stethoscope. Honestly, there is no other reason why I enjoyed medicine, because my first class were mathematics and physics. Apart from a request, there's another strange reason, a very silly reason, but it actually be in my case. I always have this greed to acquire knowledge. I knew that, or at least I felt I knew, that I would never give up on mathematics and physics because I love them. But biology, I suspected, unless I was forced to learn, I might not really bother about them. So I thought, why not? But a very strange and silly reason, I went into medical stream. I probably would have changed that, because my natural learning is mathematics and physics. I don't know where that would have taken me. The second significant change I would have probably brought about, I don't know how exactly that would have translated into action. I started 28 years ago embarking on this journey of transformation of India's politics and governance. Like all of you, I'm a great optimist. People of science and technology background like Jayesh, we're all genuinely optimistic. Why? You look at evidence, you look at logic, you look at your own experience, best practices, then you innovate, then you have a solution. That's it. There is no gap between finding a solution intellectually and operationalizing it actually. I mean, they should not be right in a rational society. I believe that. So when I founded Loksatta movement, I believed and I told everybody, within 5 years we can transform India. Now I know that logic is one thing. Society's movement, not only in India, not only in this era, but throughout history, is another thing. Individuals, a few individuals transcend the normal barriers of tradition and prejudice. They go by logic and evidence. But societies take time. They go more by experience than by logic. So when what you say is meaningful, they are actually verified through experience. It normally takes a generation. I did not know that. Had I known that, maybe, I don't know exactly, maybe I would have strategized slightly different. Following these, I really don't know if I would have changed my course, because as I said, I'm very predictable, very boring, and while I'm pretty open and flexible, in some ways I'm pretty inflexible.
Thank you, sir. Jayesh, sir.
So, first of all, thanks for inviting us to this panel, and very happy to interact with students, and I know that lots of promising entrepreneurs are also here. It's a very nice coincidence that you are asking this question, because in the morning I was in a college where they had started their innovation center. They had asked me to inaugurate it. So something which I spoke there is kind of fitting the answer to this question that you have asked. So when I was introduced here, it was told that I went to a business school. I went to a very good, a very premier kind of business institution. And a very lucrative corporate career awaited me, because the entire batch used to get very good placements, and everyone would end up thinking very high of themselves. But within a few months of my business school experience, I realized that this is not the place where I'm supposed to be. In fact, the kind of goals they pursue, just petty kind of goals, just trying to improve the balance sheet of that company that you're working for. I felt that these are too kind of narrow and petty, and maybe I can do things which are different, which are much better. But I had never had any plan B about any alternate career. So at that late stage, when I'm about to finish business school, I have to think of what else can I do. And at that point, like many other young people, I opted for a safe kind of an option to try my hand at the civil services. And I kind of appeared in the exam. Of course, I was very lucky that I got through right in the first attempt. And thereafter, it has been that single track of working for the government here. But if I had an option, one of the opportunities that I would have considered very, very seriously was to become an entrepreneur. In those days, I'm talking about early 90s, there was this belief that entrepreneurship is something which is kind of in your genes. It was believed that there are certain communities, for example, if you are a Gujarati, then you will be a great entrepreneur. If you are a Marwadi, you will be a great entrepreneur. But for everyone else, it was a matter of chance. If you are not a Gujarati or a Marwadi, maybe only if luck is heavily in your side, will you be able to do well as an entrepreneur. But obviously all these are myths, these are wrong notions. There are hundreds of others also who have done great entrepreneurial journeys, they are very successful, they are role models. But that conviction at that time was not there, and if it was not a corporate in T-Hub, we have a campaign which we are continuing for the last 5-6 years, which is called Innovator. Meaning that potentially there is an innovator in every home who can tomorrow become an entrepreneur, who can scale up his activities, who can bring amazing products and solutions for the benefit of the people. So that is one risk, and I don't really feel that it is a very risky thing to do. If you understand the formula of becoming a successful entrepreneur.
After listening to you, I have one thing in common, sir. Like you have just mentioned that you felt that you didn't belong in the business school. Apparently, even I got into Birmingham University, sir. But I had to reject that because I felt that is not the place I belong either. I want to take a risk, I want to start what I always wanted, and that is what brought me here. I don't know.
No, but I should correct you. I mean, I have studied in Birmingham. It's a very nice place to be.
Yes, of course, definitely. That would have been some other thing, but this is where I am right now. And that brings me to the next question, sir. How should students determine which place is exactly where they belong to? Like, this is what they could do. How do they get to know that they have a potential to do something really great, and yet they are stuck in a place that is not giving them, or that is constraining their full potential? So how can students know what exactly they have to do?
Students will be very familiar with this situation, what is called out of syllabus. Of course, I know the answer, not that I can't answer, but when it was over, she told me that I want to become an IAS officer. Can you give me some tips? So I told some things, which again fits very well with the kind of question which is being asked. So the answer to this is that at that stage in life, obviously you are not a kid, you are kind of grown up, and I'm sure you have a very good self-awareness about yourself. See, whatever you want to do, whether you want to become an IAS officer, or you want to join the armed forces, or you want to become a professional musician or artist or cricket player, whatever you want to do requires some skill sets. And by that point in time, you must have a very clear idea whether you have those skill sets or not, or are they skill sets which you can develop very quickly. If you want to become an IAS officer, obviously you have to first write an exam. You can't just dream that you become an officer and miracle will not happen that you suddenly will become an officer. You have to pass through a very competitive exam. So that exam taking also requires some skills. And again, you have to judge whether you have those kind of skills or not. If you do not have those skills, I've seen so many people, they spend years of their lives preparing for that exam. In fact, before I studied in Calcutta, I studied in Delhi. Delhi, as you would know, is the place that large number of people who aspire to appear in this exam or any other competitive exam for that matter, they gravitate to. And I recall, I would notice hundreds of people in my class, in my hostel, in my university, whose whole focus was to prepare for that exam. And they have got so engrossed in that particular thing, they have almost become like zombies. They have got big ears, they are completely disconnected with the real world. If you would greet them also, they would not respond. So, and of course some of them did eventually make it in that exam, but many of them did not. So when you look back, you feel really pity about it, that they wasted the best years of their lives doing something which led them to nowhere. But have they really searched deeply within themselves? Do they have those kind of skill sets to do well? So this is what I would suggest. Wherever you are, definitely many opportunities are there. There is no compulsion that you only have to become a doctor or a civil servant. You can do hundreds of other very satisfying things also. But only you can make that assessment. No one else can give you that kind of instinct. You judge about yourself what you are going to be good at. And today the opportunities are so many that and all the barriers have been broken. Suppose you want to learn Western music. You don't have to be from a very affluent family to do that. Whatever it is. I mean, all these things that you have to be in a social class, economic class, then only you can do certain things to become an entrepreneur. Unless you are the son of a rich Marwadi or a rich Gujarati, you can't become an entrepreneur. All those barriers are being broken. So it's just your innate talent and your understanding and awareness of what you are doing.
Thank you, sir. Everybody, that was a very informative answer, and there is so much to learn from that one single answer, and that brings me back to Jayprakash Narayan, sir.
Far too many of us start with, no, I want to become this. I think it's a rather unsatisfactory approach. Those are really silly goals, hard messages. For search inwards, each of us is endowed with certain potential, certain natural propensity. Most often, if you actually pay attention, you know where you're good at, what you like most, where you're passionate about. Follow your passion. Make it productive, because in the modern world, you can hone your skills, make it productive, productive. But follow your passion. A, you won't have to work hard in life because you love what you're doing. B, you'll be far more productive than anybody else. C, you enjoy life, a full and happy life. In some cases, they may be multi-talented. It's a little hard. Actually, surprisingly, if you're more talented than is good for yourself, it's tougher because you don't know what choice you should make. Then look at the greatest value add you bring to the table. You may be able to do A, B, C, D, E pretty well. But if excitement-wise you don't see the distinction, then see what is the greatest value you can bring to the table. Then pursue that. And to the extent possible, combine that with public good, because they cannot be individual words without public good. Life is productive and purposeful and meaningful when individual growth and public good are fused. And only one thing in the Indian context, for heaven's sake, go after meritocracy, forget caste, religion, this weightiness, because it's a very unsatisfactory life. It's a very parochial, insular life. So surround yourself with people of talent and purpose rather than pedigree and your own social background. 99 out of 100, if you pursue this approach, I think you'll have a happy life, because of your one life then you will maybe you believe in 100 lives. I don't know if they exist or not, but even if you have 100 lives, you know this is sure, this is certain. Make the most of it. And in today's world, we are more secure. My parents and their parents, they were much more insecure, more stressed, or terrified of tomorrow. Increasingly, we are less insecure, more confident. Make the most of it because there are fantastic opportunities out there. Even if sometimes it looks very scary, I think there's much more to be happy about than be scared about.
So my question here is, sir, how or what was that one thing that you have taken as a risk in your early career and it turned out to be a great opportunity for you?
Look, there's a profound risk I have taken. Many people think that I have taken too many risks. I have medicine and joined civil services, and I've done, I don't know what. So, and then after being at the peak in the country in terms of civil society, I switched into electoral politics. So, but to me, all of them are really a single line. It's only the change that they had. Neither the goal nor the direction changed. So to me, none of them are significant. So it's very hard for me to recall any significant risk I have taken. But because I asked me this one issue, which actually bothered me for a few minutes, I was agonized, I really am agonized. Without going into too many details, my employees, the revenue department, magistrate, they went on a strike. There was some misunderstanding. One of my employees was assaulted by a local politician, and for good reason because of that. Sometimes employees are recalcitrant, but assaulting is not the answer. If somebody was angry, after all, I got to go to them. They're not responsible. And those were just early days. I was there only for about 10-15 days, maybe a week or 10 days. Intensely busy, learning to understand my district and the issues, and then addressing them, and so on and so forth. And my senior official reported that to me. I said, ask the local official, RDO, to inquire and let me know within 24 hours what exactly happened so that we can decide the course of action. I was incredibly busy, I forgot all about it. 2 days later, I was told by a journalist that my employees are going on a strike. Every employee is going on a strike is unthinkable against the collector. Because that is the function of administration. So, other employees, other departments are different. I didn't know. I said, why? When I checked up, apparently, they were not satisfied with the RDO's response. So I was not familiar with what was happening. To cut the long story short, they went on a strike, despite my advice to them. And the strike was spreading. The state level NGOs were involved, NGO association, the whole NGO association was involved. The state level leadership came. And the employees association came to me. And along with me was sitting the district minister at the time, the Jayprakash chairperson, and a very senior MLA who was a former speaker in the assembly, now the distinguished member. They were all sitting with me in the chambers, in the camp office at Knowvation. When this association came and they said, sir, if you surrender the services of the RDO, then we will call off the strike. Otherwise, the strike will spread to the whole state. I was just 15 days old in the district. I was the youngest collector in the probably the history of the state, definitely at that time. I had a lot to prove. And if the strike spreads to the whole state, I myself would have done the government. Because if I became a problem, then it's better that you remove me. I'm not going to budge. So they were a lot at stake. And they were offering to withdraw the strike immediately, only I surrendered the RDO. I went inside into my private chambers in the house and I summoned my joint collector. I said, what shall I do? He said, sir, it's a very difficult question, sir. Very, very difficult question, sir. But what are you doing, sir? I support you, sir. I said, no, just tell me, what do you think I should do? I'm not going to go by what you say. It's only a piece of advice. He did not get it. I sent him away. Someone, the SP, was also sitting with me there. SP was much more senior to me in age and years and experience. I asked him what should I do. It's a very difficult choice. But what do you do, I support you? I was perplexed. Then I summoned the Jayprakash chairman. He said, sir, just now the senior MLA, former speaker, they were discussing, but the young collector, it's a very complicated question, very difficult question. What do you do, sir? We support you. It's amazing. It's almost like they all sort of gathered. then I dismissed that, and then I went to my wife. I said, Doctor, there is a possibility that if I take a tough stand, I will have to be transferred or enlisted to the government. If I am becoming a standing government, there is a statewide agitation, then it's better that you transfer me out. We came here only 10 days ago. Would you mind it? She gave me fantastic support. She said, we just came here 10 days ago. We go anywhere, I don't need to unpack, don't worry about it. How does it plan to where we are? Oh. Then I called it the RDO. Against 2 months this was happening. I said, Anasai, his name was Anasai. This is what is happening. I don't know what I'm going to do. But if indeed I'm going to surrender you, I want to assure you it's not because I feel that you've done something wrong. It's because in the larger public interest, I feel this sacrifice is necessary. He says, sir, I have done nothing wrong, but if you feel it's necessary, I'll be very happy, sir, no problem. So he also, literally was so kind. Then, for 3-4 minutes, I sat. It was very, in retrospect, 37 years later, it appears very impactful. 8 years later, it appears very silly. At that time, trust me, for those 30 minutes, it was the most momentous decision. Then I thought coolly for this to what I did not do. It's true that if I agree to their demands, I will definitely stay there and there will be peace of sorts. But what is it? That is what the people do. Whether I'm there or not, how does it matter? Because it is actually defeat, couched in the garb of victory. But if you stand in a principle, the principle was saying, look, justice, you were asking for justice when you were assaulted. Your senior official also needs justice. What I offered is I will order an inquiry by a superior officer and I will join collector. And if the conduct of the audio was not satisfactory, I will definitely initiate action. But not because you say so, because there is no pressure if I do it tomorrow. What is the guarantee that I am not acting against you or somebody else's pressure? But they didn't understand that sage counsel. So, trade unions, when you strike, etc., they don't act rationally, they don't even act respectfully. Suddenly they become very aggressive, malicious. So, if you are strong, there is no guarantee that you will succeed. But if you are weak, it is guaranteed failure. The moment I understood that, I went there and found the product. They didn't listen to me. And then whatever once I was determined was clear in my mind. I waited for a few days, then took certain steps to ensure that the public was not inconvenienced. 10 days later, they all sort of prostrated and surrendered and they asked for even less than what I offered. I never went back. After that, if I simply wrote on a piece of paper with just an initial, however big the decision is, in those days, for instance, if I said, please deposit this 5 crores on this cooperative bank because I was doing large lift irrigation projects, because nobody participants was mistake. So money was required, banks required funding and so on and so forth. I used to have a small slip of paper. And I used to just scribble a note and then an initial. That's it. For the next 2 years, 9 months, the missionary was completely in sync. Things which were considered impossible in that state, because at the bottom of the state, 23rd consistently in the rankings, became #1 very soon and never looked back. But much more with the government's assessment, things which are unprecedented in India's history happened, like a large 100,000 families lifted out of poverty. So there are moments when you actually feel that you're staring at defeat. It's not true. If you are strong, if you stand in principle, not on fetish, not on prestige, but on genuine principle, there is a chance that you may not succeed at that point of time. But that's not really defeat. That means sometimes principle doesn't always carry you to the goal post. But that is the surest path to success in the mountain. If you yield at that point of time, your success is all. You actually extracted defeat from the jaws of victory. A tough lesson. I'm happy I learned that lesson and now look back.
There is always this misconception that to do anything very big in life, there has to be a very strong background. Let that be in any way. If like you have mentioned, they have to be a Gujarati, or they have to be, they should have a background that is belonging to that particular sector only. So, what is your opinion when the youth are exactly, trying to take that risk, and there is always this misconception from the parent side. So, how do they tackle that pressure and they can just do something that they want?
Things are changing quite a lot, but one of the biggest challenges that young people face all the time is acceptance by their parents, by their social circles, by their peer groups. In fact, I remember something very interesting. I have been on the board of IT. As you know, there is a very good engineering school here in Hyderabad, International Institute of Information Technology. And typically, when the board meeting happens, let us say in January or February, the director tells us about placement data, like how many students got placed, which companies took them, highest salaries, average salaries, international placements, and year after year, in the last 10 years, I'm noticing that the numbers are very impressive, better than the previous year, better than the earlier years, which is all fine. But invariably, when that presentation happens, I ask one special additional question to the director, and the question that I ask is, how many students did not participate in the placement program? Despite having such great placements, are there some students who are opting out of placement? And then he will pull out his data and he will give some number that these many students did not participate. So, in some years, I asked him to disaggregate who are these students, why are they not participating in placement? When the placement is so phenomenal, you are getting lakhs and lakhs of salaries. Why are some students giving up on that? And he actually did that analysis, and his analysis showed that there are three categories of students who are not participating in the placement program. So as you would know, there are some students for whom BTech is not the end of their education. They want to study more, they want to do their masters. As you know, lots of Telugu students go to the US campuses to do their masters. Many of them, after engineering, do management courses, so BTech and BA. So that number of students are not participating in placement because they want to study further. So that number more or less remains the same. Another categories of students who want to appear in some competitive exam, like they want to join the IAS or the state civil services or railways or income tax or banks or whatever. So you have to prepare for this competitive exam. So they feel that getting into a job will not allow them to prepare, allow them to work hard, so they don't participate in that placement program. So that number is small in IIIT, but that number remains stable. But there is one number which is growing quite sharply. 10 years ago, it was hardly maybe 3-4% of students. Now I'm very sure it has crossed at least 15% to 18%. These are the students who want to become entrepreneurs, who have decided that they will run their own companies. There is some line of activity they have already figured out. They don't want to work for someone else. They don't want to study any further. They don't want to join the IAS or anything. They are very determined about it. Now, what has changed 10 years before, when this percentage was only 2% or 3%, and now it has become 15%. It is not that more talented students are coming to IIIT now, or IIIT is teaching some additional courses of entrepreneurship or anything. Nothing has changed. Whatever courses they were teaching 10 years ago, they are teaching now also. But one fundamental difference is that social acceptance to becoming an entrepreneur has become far, far more. Because 10 years ago or earlier, if you wanted to become an entrepreneur, you could possibly face questions from outsiders that are you not good enough to get a job, are you not selected, did you not get days, and therefore you are choosing to become an entrepreneur. It was seen more as a default kind of option. But that has changed completely, and also government's involvement in this. The national government has created flagship programs like Startup India. In Telangana, we have created institutions, infrastructure, we have brought in lots of talent to run these kind of facilities like the tea hub, etc. So this challenge, which I'm not saying that it has gone completely, but social acceptance, putting them in the forefront, putting them in the mainstream, that has taken time. But tomorrow, if you want to do something else as well, you will have to confront this challenge or barrier for some point in time, and then it kind of phases out.
Yes. Sir, this
Again, since we are all in tea hub, I'll give this tea hub example. So as you know, no other state, I mean now a few other states have similar institutions, but in 2016 when tea hub started, there was nothing like this anywhere in the country. And when at the government level, when it was discussed that should we get into this kind of an activity, lots of people actually said that nowhere else have governments involved themselves in promoting innovation in this manner. This is something which is completely dependent upon market forces. If the market forces pick the winners, which are the startups which will survive, which of them will eventually fade out. The governments have very limited role to play in that. But despite that, we felt that having an institution of this kind will be a very important first step in promoting innovation and entrepreneurship. The other very important decision was that who will run these kind of institutions. We have created such a big institution. Who will manage this? Who will run this? And again, in the government, we were very clear that while there is talent in the government, we should bring much better talent which is outside the government to come and work for us. So when this decision was announced that institutions like tea hub, T-Works, E-Hub, Task, and so many others, we will be getting outside talent to run these institutions. Again, there was lots of skepticism. People predicted that if you bring people from outside, they will hardly continue and stay with you for maybe months, 3 months, 6 months, not even a year. Because the working style in the private sector from where you will be sourcing them, and the working style, the work culture, etc. in government is very, very different. They will not be able to adopt. But now, in fact, I feel very proud to share with you that in all the institutions that I look after, there are close to 400 odd people who work with me. Of course, I don't maintain precise data, but anecdotally I can share with you that at least 80% of those 400 odd people who have all joined the government from the private sector would have spent at least 5 years or more with us. And this prediction that they will quit within a few months of their journey, that did not materialize, that did not come true, fortunately. So this transition, that set up a facility, bring talent from outside, this is the best that we can do as a government to support innovation, entrepreneurship. This, which appeared very risky at that point in time, we were able to pull it through, and the results now 10 years down the line is very, very satisfying. Institutions like these have become national role models. People come here to understand, to learn, and they try to replicate similar institutions, similar systems, similar governance structures back in their states.
what was your risk that you have taken? Like you knew that there was a high risk over there, but you just went.
What is risk actually? Risk is a disguised opportunity. If you think of everything as a risk, then society will stand it. So I don't even understand the conception of risk. So what I would urge you to look at, what is opportunity? Opportunity to create goods and services that really matter, which therefore allow us to make a living and which allow the society to flourish. If you do it that way, I don't think that risk really frightens us. I remember there was a aspect spectrum in the year 1989, on July the 13th, I was the municipal organization. It's very common. Australians will have cycles. About 450,000 acres of paddy land was inundated. To a point the submersion was for such a long period, we probably lost. I decided for the first time in the history of Delta, paddy crop was known for 150 years without a Delta cotton irrigation came about more than a century ago, 140, 150 years ago. the first time the bill I decided, this cyclone will come out early in the season, the Kharif season, as we call first crop. Ordinarily in Godavari districts, first crop, we are lucky because no weather crops. Second crop is the real. Second crop also happens to be a better crop because Godavari floods and rain is sealed. So they gave up. I said, no, it's the government giving some petty help and all that. Let's encourage the farmers to try deep plant again. Normally, very well. Normally, there was no government program. But I simply bought every bit of a normal seedlings from Orissa to Tamil Nadu, wherever it is, because normally whenever you can't afford to lose more time. So I said, wherever there are paddy seedlings, you buy them. I sent hundreds of lorries from Orissa coast to Tamil Nadu coast. Wherever it is available, I simply bought. And I told the farmers, I give you free, you plant it. You don't get anything from government, you not pay us. And if you actually get the full yield, it's much more than what anybody can give. I rang up I think I sent a proposal to the government to rectify it. It's not part of the government's relief program. I violated basically all government orders, rules and programs. And I am known for that. The relief commissioner, very senior man, who later became chief secretary in a year or two, he was very angry and he said, how can you do that? You violated all government norms. You didn't take government directive. I said, no. It is a massive cyclone. People suffer enormous damage. My job is to help them, not to simply waste time and work without space. And this is the right thing to do. Why are you worried? He said, no, it's a filler. No. And then he went on to chide me. I got angry and I said, you do whatever you like and I come. Which is normally not done. We don't do that to a man 30 years senior to or 27 to 28 years senior to. The cabinet, I believe, met on that issue. Apparently he briefed them that no, the collector did something terribly wrong. They discussed for 3 hours and of course, politicians have more ears to the ground. They understand the real situation. Cabinet upheld my action. But the upshot of all that is because of the credibility that I enjoy, see what happens, unexpected consequences. Not only was that a huge success, the farmers got a good yield and then they were more than recovered the losses. Because the credibility, I went to the root of the problem. Why should a bit of a rainfall cause such inundation and damage to crops? Because the drainage system is bad. Why is the drainage system bad? Because A, farmers out of greed encroach upon the drains, one more center of land and one more crop. They don't realize the collective damage done. And 2, because the drains were not maintained properly. Tunga, Chakra, the flow is impeded. So because of the credibility, I removed all encroachments, mostly with concerned farmers, more than a million. The moment they hear a call, they follow it. And then while doing something in the short term to remove the obstacles to the drains, I prepared a comprehensive program to take up in Krishna and Godavari deltas, not only Godavari district but also Krishna delta. Krishna, Guntur, Prakasam districts, and Eastern districts, all the 5 districts. I prepared a comprehensive project as to how to completely improve the drainage system, irrigation system, reconstruct the irrigation drainage system. By this time, the government changed. Elections were held, government changed. I called on the Chief Minister on the first day of the assembly when the new government came to power at the end of 1989, last week of 1989, December last week. Dr. Chanarati was the Chief Minister. There were some 25, 30, or maybe 50, 100 people waiting. Congress party in power, you know what happens. And particularly in those days, hundreds of people were waiting, MLAs, officers, and you know, Varnam Jakar sitting that day. As a matter of courtesy, I don't know what is the tradition now, but in those days, the tradition, the district magistrate will always call on the Chief Minister. Come to Hyderabad, you meet the Chief Minister because when you brief them, the Chief Minister gives you his own perspective of the actions. So, as a matter of courtesy, I went to the assembly. And I found so many people waiting, I knew that I would not get an audience. So just to show that I have made an effort, I sent a piece of paper with my name. And I thought I'd wait for 3-4 minutes and quietly go away and pretend that I'll actually write with the Chief Minister. But then really, immediately someone being put in everybody else waiting. He took me to the antechamber. We had a 45-minute discussion. Among other things, I presented this to him. Several times he sort of quickly didn't go through it, or sort of flipped through the pages. He said, Jayprakash, I'll read it. He said, twice, thrice. I didn't believe it. The chief was very, very busy. Yeah, I did my job. I said, let's see what we can do later. Later I was transferred for another reason. So they Dr. Chennai then took it up a few months later. 1990 May, there was again a massive cyclone very mysterious. He was in Washington DC. He pulled out these papers. He went to the World Bank. He asked the World Bank appointment to number 2 in the World Bank meeting with him. Dr. Reddy himself told me later, I am not a governor for lunch. He was hosting lunch to me. He said, Jayprakash, I went to this 10 minutes ahead of time. I was sitting, then in time I was called. I introduced myself to the World Bank Senior Vice President. Immediately he said, Dr. Reddy, I know you as a middle-level officer. I visited your district when you stayed. When you were Panchayat Minister way back in 1961, you took me around the state, you gave me plants and saplings. But the Reddy told me that I remember that, but I was not sure that this man remembered because he's not a senior man. The moment he mentioned it, Dr. Reddy is very bright man. He was a very bright man. Articulate, his English is impeccable, he knew Urdu very well, and this statement happened to a Pakistani lady. A man called Moinuddin Qureshi, who later became Prime Minister of Pakistan. In Pakistan, whenever there is a coup or something, they bring an IMF official, the World Bank official, the Prime Minister to clean up the financial mess. So Moinuddin Qureshi immediately sanctioned the project. And the World Bank reconstruction project, 1990 onwards, completely overhauling the drainage system of Krishna Godavari deltas happened during that period. I always tell people, when we think of caste, region, religion, nationality, Dr. Chennai Reddy is a Telangana. Actually, the architect of Telangana, this is an Andhra. He did more than any Andhra politician to Andhra. Dr. Chennai Reddy was a Reddy. Most of the farmers benefiting would be other communities in Andhra Pradesh. Reddys were not many in that area, there is some. The man who held was a Muslim and a Pakistani. Very encouraged. He helped us. What idiocy is it to think of caste, region, religion? This is the real life case. That's why I gave the names and the periods. The idiocy. So, a bit of innovation on this statement paid off hugely for the whole state eventually. It's a very cautionary tale. It's a very important lesson, a humble lesson in life. How incredible things are done, transcending caste, region, religion, and other divides. How stupid we are in being born up, as Tagore said, we narrow domestic wars, or we fragmented the narrow domestic wars, we are under-fulfilling our potential, messing up our lives. I'm always reminded, I keep telling people about this, just because we are so completely parochial. The time progressing instead of becoming more and more sensible, pragmatic, recognizing enlightened self-interest, caste, region, religion, sub-region, faction, party. It's such a stupid and narrow-minded manner we are undermining ourselves, particularly in the Telugu region, rural Telugu areas. Andhra Pradesh is a particularly bad example, the currently Andhra Pradesh. That's why I thought of mentioning this. So, a risk, if it's a sensible risk, has huge dividends. So it's a risk, it's a great opportunity. One of the greatest things I accomplished in life is making that happen over a large area. And then so many significant leaders of great foresight, that's how real things happen. There is no one hero. Success has many flowers. Failure is an orphan.
Sir, but you brought in your time and you made sure that you both were here. Thank you so much for that.